4:30. Chair recognizes that we have a quorum, so I'm going to call to order the May 19th Airport Authority meeting. First, I want to note that we did not have a meeting in April. So if you look back and look for agendas or minutes for the April meeting, that we did not have a meeting in April. The first order of business after recognizing there's a quorum is the approval of the minutes from the March 17th meeting. Do I have has everybody got a copy of the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Amy. All those in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The minutes have been approved. I'm going to skip number 4 or table it till Chip gets here. He usually reports on the NOTAMs and where the taxiway lights are, and I think he's got a report on that. We've had some issues there. And I'm also going to skip number 5 because Nate with the Airport Continental is going to actually do an after-action report on the flying in March. So here he is. Okay. I'll give you a second to calm down. Second thing, number 6 then is I think y'all have been following a series of email strands that I've been sending out about the CARES Act. And so we have an opportunity to accept a $69,000 one-time money from the FAA for the CARES program. We have to document that by submitting operational invoices for $69,000. And we put that together, and we will do that. Do that in the next week. But first, I think the first thing we need to do is accept this money formally, and the City Council will accept it in their money meeting on Monday night. So we have a motion that the Airport Authority accepts the CARES Act funding.
So move.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of accepting the CARES Act $69,000 in funding, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. We accepted it.
Okay.
But you want to discuss where we're going to put it?
Yep.
So let's open that up. I mean, we've got options as far as what we do with the money. We obviously can just roll it in and use it as part of our operating expenses. We can reduce our annual appropriation from the city of Fairhope, or we can actually take the extra money and pay it down on our debt. So I'll open that up for discussion. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Amy?
I have thoughts. I feel like since that's taxpayer money, that should be returned to the city to reduce the amount that they need to give us
Okay.
personally.
Any other discussion?
I think we have up to 2 years to spend the money, is that correct?
I did not know that. It'll take us a year to get it, so yeah. But yeah, I did not know that.
And I only asked that or inquire about that to want to know if we want to reduce the appropriation all at one time, or if we wanted to stretch it over the usable life of the funding.
And I take a little bit different attack to it. I would, instead of actually giving the city back the $70,000, I'd rather use the money to reduce our debt. Just make a lump sum $70,000 additional principal payment to our debt. But it's certainly open for discussion, and I mean, I think other people have different opinions. Chip?
Whatever we decide, I mean, we're not in a hurry. I mean, but on the debt, or unless we have anything that comes up in the interim, we need for airport operations.
Don?
Hangar expansion.
I'd
Yeah.
just as soon wait for the money to arrive and then have the discussion again.
Okay. All right, so we've accepted the money, and we'll continue having a continuing dialogue about what to do with the money when we get it. Okay? All right?
So for now, I won't do anything with it in the
We'll
budgeting.
just
Until we
it'll
actually-
be free money when we get it, and we'll make a decision then.
Okay.
And we all know the options, what we have to do with it. And we can do partial things with it. I mean, we can, so, all right, Chip, I did hold up on the discussion on the airport operations.
Okay. Runway lights have all been replaced. I think Kyle's father helped do it.
Good.
The NOTAM is still in place, and Kyle is inbound now from Birmingham, so when he lands, we can check. He hadn't checked them since it rained yesterday, so he can check the lights out when he comes
They
in
worked
tonight.
too.
Do what?
They worked.
They did, okay.
Yes.
We can go ahead and cancel the note name.
So just some background, I mean, for whatever reason, the airport, we get lots of lightning strikes, and I think that was a lightning strike, and we were out, what, 20, 25
About
runway
3,000
lights?
feet of runway length lights
Yeah.
were out, so.
So anyway, they're all replaced now, and can you remove the NOTAM at some point, Okay, all right. While we're on, now moving that, we want to have, number 5 on the agenda is an after-action report for the CJAA fly-in. Are you going to do that?
I can do that.
Okay, why don't you,
Okay, stay back here.
you can come, I guess, yeah?
I'll talk about it. Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, we had 17 jets, and then a Mustang and a T6 showed up. So 17,000 gallons of fuel strictly to that crew. That weekend, we did over 20,000 gallons between customers and everything else. What else? And no safety incidents. We had one, no rain delays. Everything went as smooth as it could for a big group like that. A lot of community came out to visit. Plenty of fuel. Any extra to add to that?
I think there was one discussion item on a NOTAM that was, there was a mistake on. That was a minor issue that we solved immediately. I've heard it may have become or perceived as a bigger issue than it was. I've helped with hundreds of NOTAMs. So it was the way NOTAMs work, I don't know if all of you know, when you put a NOTAM in, you put the verbology that you want or what you're trying to accomplish. Then you have a FAA person look at said NOTAM, and they will put it in the wording that they're going to try to fit it into a box that works in the wording that they have. It's very specific. It doesn't necessarily convey exactly what you shared with them. When they bring it back to us, they corrected it afterwards, and as soon as we saw it the next morning, we corrected it immediately. It's kind of a normal give and take. Me, Nick, and a couple of his staff all worked on the NOTAM simultaneously to make sure they were right.
And how can we, going forward, can we enter the NOTAM and let them look at it before?
No, we did.
I mean, okay.
We did, we entered it, you know, when you have 4 or 5 people, you know, the old telephone thing, you put it here and you see what it says
Okay.
on the other end. By the time they got through all the processes, there was a minor time error made. That's it.
What about the issue I heard from the lady from the FAA about not being notified in a timely
That
manner?
was the primer. Yeah, that was, so when we go to have a low-level box applied, so we can have the practice level robotics, you have to get special permission from the Birmingham business.
Mhm.
Went up there, coordinated all that, and they assured me that all the coordination, I had done everything I needed to do in order to have that box approved. Well, during the event, we had an unknown rider or someone who did not read the notes arrive, and one of the controllers arrived unannounced, which happens. I don't know if any pilots here have ever not read a note and been surprised at some point. We had one of those happen. That person that came in complained to the controller, which is ironic because he didn't read the NOTAM. The controller then made a safety notification that they were concerned about the fact that this controller didn't read the NOTAM, even though everybody was briefed on it in the morning. So it was
An issue with the FAA.
it wasn't, well, I'm not going to try to
Yeah.
say it was 100% the FAA, though it may be in this case. What I agreed to before we do any type of activation of a box like that again, where we actually affect airspace, is that I would talk to this FAA controller. I forget her name right now. I didn't bring those notes. I would let her know what we were doing and how it would impact her airspace.
Okay. And then just a couple of just minor things. You know, we borrowed the city's fencing, and they were very gracious to let us use that, and they were, you know, they picked it up, and so we need to make sure that we do that every year. And then also, we invited the mayor and the city council. I don't think anybody showed up we did invite them. So that's important. Does anybody else have any comments on the fly-in?
I will make one note, if you're going to pick on that, just let us know how many people you know, this event is not a sponsored event. These are all the owners of these
Yes,
airports
yes,
that are
yes.
coming. It's not an air show, it's not anything else. So if we start, you know, inviting the entire hierarchy of the Mobile area, right, that expense is limited
I understand.
on me. So I want to make sure that we include all of you and our key civic people, but please don't treat it as a free-for-all for anybody to come have dinner. That's
Well, none of them came, so, but I mean, the mayor did say she was going to come and then didn't come, but that
Well,
was.
yeah, I understand. It was a holiday or something.
Yeah, it was, yeah, so whatever, okay? Okay, moving on, so we've done 5, 6, and 7. I guess the next item is the attorney's report. Josh?
7, item 7.
Oh, we did skip 7, okay. Discussion and development of the hangars by the authority. Don, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, sure. There are two construction elements, a private entity who's here tonight. It's spearheaded by Don Hanson and 5 other pilots, and they're going to build, they have signed the ground lease with us, and they're going to build some private hangars on the southwest corner. Mr. Hanson and one of his partners are in the audience tonight. We're going through some due diligence on infrastructure, hydrant line, water line, roads, gates. The Hanson Group is familiar with what we're talking about there. And the other thing we're talking about is we have the developed area on the east side of the field, and it's been waiting for some hangars. And we now have a list, without even trying very hard, of 10, 11 names, people that have all expressed an interest in leasing a hangar. These would not be owned by anybody like Mr. Hanson's group. They're going to own those boxes. This would be owned by the authority and be leased out arbitrarily for around $400 a month. And I say arbitrarily because we haven't pinned a number down, but that's a potential number. And it would be on the east side, and they'd be T-hangars. So and I'm having a sign made, I'm having it picked up on Friday. It's going to be placed at the entrance of the airport to Airport Road at Highway 32. Just that sign alone and our website, which is being revamped, we're going to have that announcement. But the aviation community, as everybody knows, is pretty tight, and the word is getting out about the availability of hangars. And if anybody doesn't know, Foley and Bay Minette built hangars, and within a matter of weeks, they were gone. So from an investment standpoint, I think we could have these hangars paid for. The authority would build them. Vince Booth has done a tremendous amount of homework on the construction cost. They could probably be paid for in 7 to 8 years, in that ballpark. So I can't speak to interest rates or things like that. That's probably premature anyway, but Amy, we could continue to talk about that. But any questions out there in the audience about potential and if you have a plane and want to be included on the list, it is going to be a preferential treatment on who is number 1 on the list, and number 11 is number 11, or number 12 is number 12, if you will. So if anybody does want a hangar, contact me or Chip Groner, board member Chip Groner. We'll put you on the list. Just let us know what kind of airplane you have, your email address, your telephone number, how to reach you. But does the audience have any questions about the hangars? Okay, Joe, back to you.
What's our time frame?
Very soon. Vince, I might defer to you on the process of going out to bids or where we are in that.
Yeah, we get bids on that. We could get bids on slab, start putting slab in, and, once we got approval for financing, 30, 60 days, we'll order the metal building while we're doing the slab. Take 8 weeks to get the metal building, take 4 weeks to erect it. So it's going to be a 6-month process.
So we could get it done by Christmas if we,
Yeah.
okay.
So late fall or Christmas.
That's exciting. And I think there's a legitimate need.
No doubt.
No doubt. I think we could, I think it would cash flow too.
And we'll build them as the waiting list gets filled. So 10 hangars, 5 pointing north, 5 facing south, And then when we build up the waiting list again, we'll pull the trigger on another row of hangars. So we're just not going to build them willy-nilly and not have a game plan. So right now, we can fill a full 10 hangars at this moment. So we're going to be moving forward.
So we would take plat 14 and 15 and make those into, rethink what we're doing on the east side and make those into basically box hangars or T hangars or whatever the market suggests. Did you see a problem with that, Hank?
We just, I mean, we're gonna be in the process of updating the master plan anyway, so we can just, wherever you guys decide you wanna put them, we just update that plan to show where they actually are.
Okay.
There's no problem to update that.
So we
So-
show that plan as either or, box hanger or T hanger?
Yes,
Do we have to wait till the master plan's updated to go forward?
not if you're funding it on your own.
All right, thank you.
The only thing I encourage you to do is just make sure you meet all the minimum requirements as far as space, you know, separation, setbacks and all that, so that if you ever do decide to go seek reimbursement for it from the FAA, you have done that. But, the only other thing would be is if it's the engineering and testing and, you know, material testing and all that stuff that are required by the FAA, if you're gonna sole source all this or basically just do it in-house without doing that, then.
The only thing that would be eligible for FAA funding would be some of the taxiways in front of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be, but it would have to be
Okay.
engineered, designed, and then it would have to be monitored through construction through means of CE&I services like we do on all the jobs. In other words, you'd have to have all the documentation that shows that it was built to the FAA standard for doing the project, and the supporting documentation that comes with it.
Oh, well, that gives us,
Saying we should hire a qualified engineer?
That's exactly
we
what
know
I'm
any?
saying.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, sure, that's exactly what I'm saying.
All right, now the attorney's report, Josh.
All right, I don't have any update on any further negotiations for ground leases on the east side. And did want to update the board that the small claims case for the fence repair has been completely resolved. So that I may have reported that last time, but we didn't meet in April, so I don't quite remember. But that's been completely resolved, and the case has been dismissed, and we've received the settlement funds. So that's been taken care of.
I don't think we have a completed hangar application, but I think we have somebody that's shown interest in a hangar. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten an email that somebody has shown interest in P10.
Is now a good time to, I mean, do you want the floor and talk about what your proposal is?
Yeah, sure.
Come up to the mic so
Yeah, come up
so
to the
they can
mic.
record it, if you don't mind. Thanks, Zach.
Want to record this?
Well,
You're on TV.
She does.
I'm on TV. That's great to know. Should have put my makeup on. So as many of you know, I've come up here and had a couple of proposals before. The bottom line is I got more airplanes than there's airspace available here. Okay, it's a common problem. It's a good problem to have in my line of work. I'd like to build a 100 by 110 hangar, personal hangar, me and a partner with I don't know what the technical terms are, but Vince or one of you guys can tell me what the technical term is, but right next to the hangar, a building adjacent to, as part of it, have some office spaces so I can do my my business, just doing my check rides, and I do a little training, but mainly check rides for people. And that's really the summary. There's not much more than that besides I need a place to put all 5 airplanes.
And we've talked about P10.
Yes.
You've reviewed the lease, and other than a couple of small glitches, one being we don't mention the fuel truck, which I think we do, we'll find that. You were okay with the lease?
Yeah, one of my airplanes requires a mix of Jet A and 100 low lead in order to operate at the right temperatures, an older airplane. So I need a fuel truck. So that's a consideration I've been
That's our
discussing.
mode of operation, the fuel truck.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anybody have any comments?
You talking about fuel farm or just fuel truck?
Well, I'd like to have the option on the farm if we decide to build it, because we do have it. We'll have a Citation jet around. So
But right now, you're.
right now, I'm just talking about putting the building, getting a hangar in place, and
having your own fuel truck that you'll keep adjacent to your hangar.
absolutely, yeah, on the plot.
You're talking about like a lean-to off the back and hanging for office space and stuff.
I think lean-to is the right term, but basically just kind of goes out the side, and a small 2-story would probably be a 4,000 square feet, not nothing huge.
I'd like a motion that we could go, go forward with negotiating a lease with, I guess, who is it? You individually, or do you have an?
Warbirds East, the company. Yep.
And we'll bring a lease for review in the June meeting.
I like that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor of moving forward and negotiating a lease with Warbird Z, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Continental Aerospace Technologies Report. Nick? Do you want to introduce, you want to do it in a different way?
I'd like to introduce everybody, as you know, COVID-19 going on, everything, we're going to do some restructuring, revamping.
Come up to the microphone, or both of y'all.
Steve Bordeaux is our new director of global customer service for Continental. So he's my boss now. You'll see him around the airport, keeping me in line. But as part of the restructuring, layoffs, rifts, things like that. So he's over here now, helping do some, actually within the month, do some major improvements to our operations,
Okay.
both at flight line and in the engine shop. So,
Well, welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. So just to give you a little background on me, I've been with Continental for 2 years now. I oversaw all global operations for warranty, customer support, and product support. Have about over 25 years in the service world, so engine service world. So this is second nature to me. So helping Nick with the team, developing new processes and improvements and all that to continually strengthen our operation over there in Fairhope. So looking forward to the opportunity to work with everyone here and keep developing our relationship. So,
Would you give us the name again?
Stephen Bordeaux.
How you spell that, Bordeaux?
It's Bourdeau.
Don, help with that.
Yes, sir.
and I'll send, if you guys like, I'll send you his contact.
Yeah, send me, please send it.
Yes.
And we're updating the website, so it's very timely.
One more thing I'd like to update everyone on, the flight tracker. That's now up and
Yeah.
operational. I'm giving Stephen our upper management reports weekly on the traffic, things like that we're seeing, and one, to help us track the impact of COVID-19 to our work and all, and seeing the uptick now of both general aviation and the jet world. So-
Yeah, activity's picking up, so it's good to see. Yeah.
Had a slow April.
Yeah, very slow March, slow April. The trends are going up. We see activity and fuel sales slowly climbing, so that's week to week. So that's a positive. So, and our activity on the global market, I can fill you in on some of that. So on the global scale of things, we're seeing Europe and Australia and other regions that we service starting to open up too. So the general trend is it's opening up, and it's a recovery effort now. So it's a positive.
But if at any time you guys need any of that information, just reach out.
How's that flight tracker work?
It's not 100% accurate. Some of it you have to kind of hand jam, do the math. It does cover all IFR and anyone with ADS-B. If you fly a Stearman or something that doesn't have ADS-B yet, it doesn't pick it up yet.
Just give me the bulk.
But I'd say it gets a good 70% of what's going on. The Navy, it does not show up at all as far as their operations there. But those are things we can work with. But otherwise, you can see stuff live, and there's some other functions that having that an FBO toolbox type thing. So we get information earlier on, say a corporate jet's coming in, we can prep for them and such. So it sends me an alert that we have one inbound and timing and stuff. So that it's nice for our business to prepare.
Could you give us a monthly report on the traffic numbers so that we could just take a look at the trends?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll send that out in the morning. Not a problem.
How long has the system been carried?
Since March. That's when we installed it.
So you have actual landings or takeoffs? What would the?
It doesn't do every takeoff and landing, it just does at the aircraft arrive there. So if it stays in the pattern and does touch and goes for an hour, say Zach's doing a check ride, it'll only show that as one operation.
Okay.
But, you know, we're there all day, so I
But
kind
what
of.
would be interesting would be the trends, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, not so much.
And it's pretty easy to do that, and it will automatically do it for you to an extent for a fee. But it doesn't account for everything that's going on. A little gyrocopter that's there all the time, it doesn't show up at all, and it's there 3 times a day. You know, so we know it's there, so I have to manually. put that one.
You know, for any time this is a sidebar, but anytime we have to report the FAA, one of the things they ask us for is operations per month.
Yeah.
And it's always like, I mean, we don't have a good number, this would really, really help.
But and starting in March, so
Yeah,
I have a
okay.
trend, and I'll shoot that out to you in the morning, and then maybe for each meeting, I'll have one prepared for you guys.
Some other issues, fob cards versus keypads. I think we've got a report on that. I mean, I think Damien's done the most of the work on that, but at the same time, and we've got some numbers. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great, you know, each of the people there would then have access, you know, us changing the gate code every month to make TSA happy and all, isn't an issue, you know, I have no problem with it whatsoever. We're happy to disperse them, create a lost card fee and things like that to help manage. That's just not a problem. It's almost no effort.
Vince, you?
I think we can talk with you guys.
Jacket charges $20 for initial fee and $10 for renewal.
I'd say we go that going rate.
Now, they have a picture ID that goes with the access card, so it's not just the card itself. You
Okay.
actually have
And a
And I think that'd
$40
be
lost
great.
card fee.
Yeah, I have no idea, I hadn't lost it yet.
It's just a matter of time.
But I think it would be great, and actually, to Chip's point, having an ID, it would help us sometimes with, wouldn't say people wander around, but I've been trying to improve the safety on the ramp by limiting traffic, and, you know, our FBO is odd in that you have to walk through the ramp to get to the front door, but it would let us know who belongs as an owner or leasee out there, and who's a guest.
And they actually don't have codes. You gotta have a card to get through the gate.
And that's one thing I'd like to talk about too, is a code for the walk-through gate, and what's, I've been reading through some documents, and it's not clear whether that gate should be locked with a code or not. You know, you read one section, it says one section.
It should be with a code and a spiral gate,
Yeah.
all that.
So those are some things I think we should discuss future.
Well, Damien's got there's some good numbers out there. I think that we've got to upgrade the south gate, the firehouse gate, and a new gate on the east side. They were, I think, don't hold me to this, but it was like $2,000 a gate plus $10,000 for the new gate, almost $14,000 in new money, plus a computer. So about $16,000. So what I'd like to do is maybe have a committee, if you will, to make a recommendation to the board, maybe in June, how we go forward on that.
That's fine. I also would like to thank Damien Fields for putting a substantial amount of time and research into this. Just want to thank you.
First I've heard about I mean, do you really think we need a gate? I mean, we need a pedestrian gate? We need
As I'm taking on some new roles with what I'm doing too, I'm getting deep in the books and regulations, and just, like I said, trying to make sure us as an airport community are doing the right thing. So I'm not 100% certain yet, but it is something we need to discuss for just, you know, the safety and security.
Maybe.
It leads us to your authority. My analysis is based on just hardware pricing, because that's the purview I've got. My personal opinion is the next step is to look at user requirements, so continental FBO authority and tenants. And then when we know what everyone does, which includes the firehouse requirement,
Yeah.
like what you said, Joe, an after hours accident ambulance requirement or whatever, those would then sort out what we would go.
Right now, we get calls you know, when the police have to get on there, they don't know the code. So, I mean, we have to figure, I got a call Friday night, they needed to get access to the airport.
And I talked to her today.
Yeah, I appreciate that, so let's put together a group.
Yeah.
And Don, will you kind of head it up?
Sure,
Use Damon?
I've already been working with Damien quite a bit, so
He's
yes.
done lots of work, I just wasn't prepared tonight to make a recommendation. And and the other thing is, it's expensive, and, you know, we've got a lot of other things on our table, on the plate too, so, anyway, okay?
And one more thing, I don't know if anybody's been by the airport since yesterday. The East Ramp, Seegers had a customer come in, a big P3, to do some propeller work. So they're on the ramp, and
That's the first time we've ever had a synergy with Seegers. They've talked about doing stuff before, but they've never actually flown a plane yet.
so this is the first customer who's taken advantage of that benefit them to fly their airplane in to do the maintenance they're doing. And they're talking about a second one within weeks, possibly.
That would be a great thing.
That's good for them, good for the airport, because it's more fuel.
It's also good business, so you're supporting local businesses that you have here. So Tony's was out there the last 2 days as well with their record, taking those props off. So it's feeding all different small businesses, so.
And a downer, Debbie Downer, what about our plane? Any chance of getting that?
Oh, yes, it is, we did a bill of sale last week. A gentleman is going to take it and make a playground for his kids with it. So
But it's still there, though.
It's there. I think gave him 30 days to get it, so.
Oh,
So we'll
great.
have it out of there.
Yeah.
And so that eyesore will be gone.
That big?
No, he called first, but another gentleman contacted me about it, and he was already out there doing whatever he's trying to figure out how to move it. So, middle of June. it should
And
be
we're
done.
okay with the liability that, I mean, it's not going to be, it's the liability of having the plane. I mean, I think there was some.
Well, there is
It's
no,
just going to make it into a playground.
it's not airworthy if I've understood every discussion we've ever had about this particular
Yeah, I made sure to put in there that it's not airworthy, and we'll know.
The bill of sale is what creates the protection, so hopefully you built in some protections in the
Yes.
bill of sale to make sure that it's as is and that there are no warranties or anything
And
like
I'm
that.
going to remove the data plate
Okay.
before they get it, so that will.
And the fuel too, hopefully, any remaining fuel?
There's nothing in it, I
Okay,
already
good.
checked that. And there's no engine, so no oil.
Yeah, our legal team's going to review the bill of sale before it's signed, so.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, moving on, number 10, engineers report. Hank or Jordan?
Well, we got lots of stuff.
We do, don't we?
This is Exhibit A.
It feels like.
I put Jordan's email in the package,
Okay, that's
okay?
we got several things, you know, we had the 2 jobs that recently bid out. This is for.
Y'all know Hank's got a new baby at his house.
He does.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How old are you, Hank?
25. Okay, we'll come back to that.
How old's that baby?
11.
These up minus 25. That's still the max.
Grants are all on the left.
There you go on that.
Why don't we get Jordan up here? You're
Yeah,
done.
Jordan, come up here.
Jordan, why don't you introduce yourself too?
Hello, I'm Jordan Stringfellow. I do everything Hank doesn't want to do.
So you do it all?
Where's the,
This is the master plan contract.
okay, that one, well, I guess, we got the 2 jobs that we bid out. That was the southeast ramp, or southwest ramp, and then we had the extension of the access road.
Okay,
So those 2 projects coupled with the project that was going to be the master plan, or it's going to be the master plan project for you guys to update the master plan, it's all AIP funded, expected to be funded. By the time we went through all that, and basically over budget to do the base bid plus the alternate on the extension of the access road.
all right, let's start over. 3 projects. 1, access road extension on 13, and then there's an alternate for a circular road for a fuel facility, okay? Secondly, project was maintenance, if you will, or basically a seal coat on the southwest side near where the existing T-angers. And the third project is a updated airport layout plan and master plan, okay? We have bid out and you've got suggested contractors for 2 of those projects, don't you?
Correct.
So go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the one that was the low bidder on the access road, the extension of the access road was Cunningham to Langley. They were $164,831.45. Our recommendation is to go ahead and award that based once the funding from the FAA comes in the form of a grant.
Which will be in July and August,
Yeah, it should be August, something like that.
okay?
Then the second project was the seal coat Southwest, and AmeriSeal out of Ohio is the company that got that project, and that was $210,431.50.
Can I get a motion to accept those, both accept the grants and to do, and accept their recommended contractors?
You don't have to accept them now. What you can do is say you're gonna pursue submission of the grant application
Okay.
to request the funds. You know what I mean? So until the funds are available, you don't want to award the job to the contractor.
No, but I mean, we want to accept the contractor, I mean, we accept your recommendation?
You will once you get the money.
Okay.
In other words, you don't want to say, yeah, we're going to give a job to somebody when you don't have the money to pay them. So either, and we've not had instances where this has happened before, but I know it has happened where the FAA comes back and says, we can't fund your project this year. It happened right here 2 years ago. After we
Yeah,
bid.
but
one out.
we hadn't actually signed anything.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You don't necessarily have to make a motion here today saying you recommend award to a contractor. What you want to do is recommend pursuit of executing the application to the FAA for the grant.
Does the application require signature of the board chairman?
It will of Carrie.
Of the mayor, but it doesn't require the signature of the board chairman?
No.
All right.
I have to sign something.
Yeah, the certifications Joe signs, but the signature of the actual application.
And we won't do that
requesting
till we actually have the grant, we've actually been approved for the grant.
That's what this is you saying, I want you to approve this FAA. And this is all the supporting documentation that goes with it.
Yeah.
This is us asking.
You
for
want
money.
the mayor to sign that. Not as easy said as,
Yeah. So that is all this, and we can go through that individually, but that's basically, what you need to do is make a motion or have somebody make a motion to pursue the grant application.
And the chairman would need to be authorized to sign any documents appropriate to pursuing the application.
and then, do I take,
We request the FAA, notify the FAA that we'd like to receive these funds, so in the future we can hopefully award these contracts. And whatever paperwork needs to be signed by the chairman, be signed by the chairman.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. So my to-do is sign the grant and then get the mayor to
So
sign.
you're gonna sign everywhere there's a blue tag,
Okay.
and then Karen's gonna sign
Sign
everywhere
everywhere
there's
there's
a yellow tag.
Okay. And then return them to you to get to the FAA.
Is there a time frame on that?
As soon as possible, yeah. They put a timeline on us this year, June 1st. I think they did extend that somewhat just because of the pandemic situation. But just with conversations that I've had with Graham at ADO just the other day, he's not even received bids from any other airports yet. So,
And then in July, August, when we actually receive the grant, the city council will have to approve accepting the grant.
correct. You'll approve accepting the grant and accepting that money, and then you'll make a recommendation to award, you'll approve awarding the contract to the contractor. And that's the other thing, they may not fund one of the projects, but they may fund two, you know,
And the 2 bids are good for how long?
120 days
120 days, from day to bid.
from date of opening.
So we're about,
10 days, 6 days in there.
wasn't 164, is that a little better than we thought it was going to be?
Our number on the base of it is 172, so. Okay.
But I think going into this, since we're updating the master plan, there's been talks about the relocation of the fuel farm over there on the east side and all that, I think it's, even if they came back and said, hey, we only got X amount of money, if you're gonna drop a project, I'd say drop that extension of that access road. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm counting on the access road, I'm dropping the circle.
Yeah.
That's what he meant.
I'm
That's
saying
what he
if they drop the whole, if you only could do two projects out of the three, I would do your seal code and I'd do your master plan, because that sets you up for future stuff. If they give you all three, you're only gonna get the base bid, which would be the straight section of that access. If they give you all three. I don't anticipate you getting the alternate for that, but who knows? Stranger things have happened.
But I'm of the opinion we're gonna get 3 of them.
That's what we're hoping for.
We're pretty close
Yeah.
within our budget number.
Yeah.
And talk through the matching.
The matching,
It's 100%.
yeah, it's 100%.
So there's no match this year required, so we get so that 550 is really 611.
And that's another thing that you can do with the CARES Act money. You can reimburse yourself for expenses you've had on previous grants, previous construction projects. So like your 5% match money that you had from last year, you can use that money for that.
On that access road, what was the alternate amount going around?
135.
133 on here.
178.
So,
133. Yeah, there were 3 bids, 133, 144, and 134. 141 and 134.
It's steep.
Hmm?
It's steep.
It's a pretty good buildup. And that loop it's not just a 24-foot wide road either. It's got to be so wide that tractor trailer can make that turn. Plus it's got side drains and everything under it.
So the access road and so 2 of these contracts, we've done what we need to do. What about, let's talk about the review and approval for the Volker Airport layout plan. I think we have to approve that.
That is this contract here. 2 copies in here. Need to be signed by you guys. This is one I think Joe can just sign. We've got everything broken out. I think, did you forward it to everybody after Jordan sent it to you?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Basically what it comes down to, the price tag does, I know Joe mentioned they have a little bit of sticker shock based on the price tag of $140,000.
Yeah, I was thinking 110.
Yeah, of that number, $64,000 of that is Volker money. So $75,000 of that is to have the aerial inspect or the aerial survey done, which is quite expensive. I think that was $35,000. And then to get your pavement classification number from the non-destructive testing, that's $37,000. So the 2 big items that you need are the most expensive items.
We'll get an aerial survey that'll basically serve us forever. That'll be for, I mean,
It will be a snapshot of the existing contours and any obstructions in your Part 77 surface at the time that it took place. And then we have to have that will give us 2-foot contours for determining the elevations of the ground and under that Part 77 surface, which I think it's a huge area. I mean, was it about 4 miles past the end of the runway? Yeah, so it's a big circle all the way around the runway. And we have to set ground control for the LiDAR pilots to lock down on, and then they fly and establish.
Any land use planning part of that?
All that be in there. You'll have and that's another thing. I know if you were to look at your ALP right now, it's a single sheet, and then you have an Exhibit A that shows your property that's owned by the airport. This document that you get this time will be at least 8 to 10 sheets.
That day is revised.
Yeah, they have stepped up
All
what
those
they want on all the
obstructions that the aerial survey will identify, we have to create, like Hank said, 4 to 5 different sheets showing those obstructions within your approaches and documenting them that way, called runway departure surface drawings. inter-approach service drawings. It's just a more detailed set of drawings that give more like detailed information about your approaches than the ALB does. So that's why it's a little bit more.
And
work
this is-
than the first time.
Yeah, and this is one of the projects that's funded by the FAA as well, and it is under.
And how long do you think the updated ALP will last us?
It's, like I said, I think to Don and several others, it's all really kind of dependent on the first thing, which is getting that aerial information done. And a lot of times they can't do that until the fall comes when the leaves drop.
No.
He doesn't know.
How long, I mean, how often will you have?
Oh,
to
it just kind of depends on the progress of the airport. So if, let's say you went through it in 5 years, you kind of fulfilled a lot of stuff, or you saw, even if the board changed and people started having a different direction, there's no reason why you can't redo it again then. You know what I'm saying?
Typically, you see 10, 15
Yeah.
years.
We generally stay in the same direction, we're good 5,
Yeah, I
7,
mean,
8
Yeah,
years.
normally. That's what we see on all our other airports. I think all the latest ones we've seen were all updated like 2008, 2010, 2012. And then now we just did one for Vernon, or for Baymonette, we did one for Hackney that we're wrapping up now. And both of those, I think, were about 7 or 8 years old, 10 years old. But it all kind of depends on the board and what direction you guys want to go. If you get locked down to something, then you may come back and say, well, this is totally, we don't even want to go this route anymore. You know what I'm
So will
saying?
there be, I mean, how will we do this? Will the members of the board meet with you and say, this is what we want to do?
Well, I would suggest, what I would recommend you guys do is set up a committee of 2 or 3 people that you would trust to kind of steer the process along. Then, when we get to certain milestones, then let that be brought to the table in the form of a board meeting such as now, and present it to the other people.
How can we do that Josh, how can we do that in terms of the?
Well, I mean, technically, if you form a committee, it's subject to the Open Meeting Act. So any quote, committee
We'd have to
meeting would have to be
advertise it.
noticed and published within at least 7 days prior to the meeting.
Yeah, we can do that if that's, I think that, in my opinion, the way the airport is right now and where it's headed, I think that needs to be done. I think you need to have a committee of 2 or 3 people that's going to represent the airport authority, and because I can go over there all day long and say, I want to put you behind her here. But then when I come back and I've gone through all this effort, and everybody comes back in here and says, no, that's totally not the way we want to go. What does that do? That takes away the expeditiousness of getting this done, which is going to slow your progress down because you're never going to find a way to agree. So I think you need to have some representation from the board present at these meetings. Even if that's just one person, if you don't, you know what I'm saying? Or even if you don't want to form a committee and we got to have we got to have somebody to deal with before it gets ready for a milestone delivery. You know what I'm saying?
We need people to be involved. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah. I mean, because we've seen what's happened just in the last, 2 years. I mean, we changed that east side, I think 5 revisions. So, I mean, it's an evolving and it's a changing document, but we got to get a document down on paper, something we can, everybody agree to and be happy with to basically come off the starting line. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, would we need to set some high-level goals of what, as a board, what we're looking to do and give that mission to the representative?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the best thing. Back to the contract, this will be sent to AlDOT for its audit, for its engineer's fee assessment, just to make sure everything's legit. If they find something we may overlook, whatever, we'll adjust. You know, but other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
Mention briefly about the runway testing.
The runway testing will have to be done probably, I don't know, I know the FBO's here. It'll probably take the better part of a day to get done. Maybe 2, but whenever we get to that point, we can coordinate that with you guys, maybe try to set it up for, a rainy day or something, maybe there's not that many operations. It's kind of hard to say because I think the guy that runs the rig that actually applies the load to the pavement, I think they're from out of town, so We just have to see how that works out. But essentially what they'll do, this is a trailer, hooked to the back of a pickup truck. He comes out there, he sits down, and it sits there and just taps on the pavement with different loads, and then they take that data and then turn that into basically a structural number.
So we'll know what the true loading capacity of those runways are. We won't have to guess.
You'll have a pavement classification number.
And that will be the basis for any application for a future runway upgrade?
Yes, that will be your justification for strengthening the runway to support the larger aircraft. At the same time, it tells us the existing state of the runway, and we know whether or not we need to add 3 inches of pavement, or 5 inches of pavement, or 10 inches of pavement, depending on what you want. You know, it just.
An asphalt soil test.
Essentially, yes, that's non-destructive.
And that's
Right.
included in this.
Yes, ma'am, that's the $36,900 something dollars, I think it was. But that'll be done as part of this master plan. You'll have an actual, and the pavement classification number is something that a lot of the airports are going through right now. You know how we had the big confusion over what was the limit of the runway, what was its capabilities, what did it support, whether it was single wheel or dual wheel. This fixes all that, because now you have a PCN, which is a number that's given to a runway that says, if you have an aircraft classification number, airplane classification number, equal to the pavement classification number, that means you can land there. But, or if it's equal to or less than. So if it turns out that the runway is a PCN of 35, but for an airplane that has an ACN of 40, he shouldn't be landing on that runway.
Take some liability off.
Right, it takes the liability off the owner, it takes the liability off of the airport. It's published, and it's as clear as day because of that whole thing of people not understanding what actual, 36,000 single wheel main gear configuration means. It eliminates that. So
Where
now-
is that number published for markets?
It's published, it should be published on like AirNav or on the airport 5010.
Airport facility.
Yeah. And then they should know what their ACN is for their airplane. That should be in their technical specs. They should know, but it's not safe to.
I've never had a need to look one up.
Yeah.
All right, don't we need a motion to accept Volker's proposal?
Yes, and for you to execute it and sign it, and then we can get going.
Do I have such a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve accepting Volker as a prime contractor for our ALP plan and for our runway testing plan. All those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll get together afterwards and
Yeah, we'll
decide.
get to make sure.
Hey Hank, in that 210, did you get the 4 points of the conference roads? And then
Yes,
what
we
type
did.
of-
Well, like I was telling you, they were saying they needed it to calibrate instruments on the plane, and we didn't know when the 99s would come back. So what we did was we implemented the standard compass roads, the FAA compass roads, painted on the pavement. We added that to the product. If by the next 2 to 3 months, when we get ready to award a job, if it can happen, that coordination of the 99s come back to paint the pre-compass roads on the pavement can be done right after they do the seal coat, so that it doesn't impact them doing calibrations, then we just not do that paint. Out of the job.
Those ladies want to come back and do that again.
And yeah, I called, coincidentally after you left the other day, they called me because they wanted to do another poker run, and I brought that up to her, and she said, just say when, and she'll come back.
Okay, so that'd be good. That means,
As long as they have their mark.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
set up with them back in, have them work.
so, and if they don't, we've got, the contractor's gonna pay the standard compass roads until they can't cover it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay. Updating the authority's website, Will?
We're dealing with volunteers in updating the website, and they're busy in their own responsibilities, but we're making some progress. Ben Montgomery has recruited another volunteer to help, and he has received and is receiving input from all of us, as to updates, content for the website. So if you've got any information that you'd like to see on there that you haven't already relayed, get it to Ben pretty shortly.
Okay.
So they're working on it.
Okay. Do you want, I mean, are we okay funding wise? We need it. He asked for some money at one point in time. Do you think we can get it done for free?
When did you ask for?
Well, you said something that's hard to get volunteers to work for, you know, I mean.
I don't think Ben has asked for it.
Okay.
I think this is still on a volunteer
That's
basis.
great, that's great. Okay. Treasury support, Amy?
Okay, let's see. Return to your report. The blue box at the top shows the revenues, so year-to-date, we are $13,000 behind the plan that we had. And over towards the right, I'm now forecasting about a $12,000 shortfall from what we had expected, and that's primarily on the ground lease rent. So that is reflecting a reduction of what we expect now through the end of September, to be adjusted if we get any new ground leases going before then. And the fuel sales has been a little bit below plan. We'll see if that picks up from this extra, from the fly-in. On the expense side, I've been able to cover off all the variances so far. So the insurance, if you look in the end-of-year projection on the expenses, the insurance was more than we planned. That's offset by the additional interest, or a reduction in the interest cost on our big loan. The professional services is running under, is covering the extra legal fees, so that's just kind of a wash. And then that, I'm projecting a reduction in the maintenance, the general airport maintenance, to kind of cover that shortfall on the ground lease revenue. So right now, with an end-of-year projection of $43,000, that leaves us $25,000 for the remaining months. And if depending on what we do with those gates, we may need to bump that back up a little bit. We didn't have a report in March. The only things the only really discretionary things that have come through is the light maintenance that we just talked about, and the ground maintenance, or the grounds keeping. At the bottom on the next page this is the time of the year where we start to look at when we have to pay that big principal payment, $200,000 in August. So the second page really shows the projection of where our bank account balances will be. So we're going to pretty much drain our operating account and need to bring in a little bit from the money market account to cover that payment in August. And this is reflecting all the projections on the first page. So that's where we are. There's not a lot of room without dipping into our kind of reserves to do anything else.
Amy, are we still setting aside money every month for future FBO?
No, not this whole year.
We've got a $102,000 CD that we've got, you know, for that. That we set aside.
Yeah, this purple at the bottom, they stayed flat all year.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I love the way you report it.
Thank you.
You get to understand.
Colors. And then on the agenda, we also had talking about the potential to try to refinance our big $7 million note. And so Joe and I met with Bryant Bank, where it is held right now. Those interest rates are based on the five-year Treasury 6-month average. So that is still going down because interest rates have come down, but we're still on the decrease. So we're monitoring that, and we'll probably come back later in the summer with a recommendation to refinance at that time when the interest rates get down where we forecast.
Put this in historical perspective, when we did it, 3 years ago, the 5-year Treasury was 2.02. When we started talking about this in March, the 5-year Treasury was 0.63, and now the 5-year Treasury is 0.35. So I mean, waiting is a good thing. So we'll wait to, I don't see any, I don't see any reason to do anything now. Questions? Is there any other business? Does anybody from the floor want to talk about anything? Don, you want to give us an update on your project?
Yeah, guess so. We're doing okay. Hank, the Volker,
Come on up here.
This is Mr. Don. This is Mr. Don Hanson.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you weren't going to say
I
it.
wasn't sure. We're coming along pretty good. We're getting some bids in that some of them look somewhat promising. We're going to, I think, meet with some of you about the installation of some, I guess it's a fire water hydrant and some other infrastructure, things like that. But it looks like we're moving forward in a nice way. And Hank with Volker sitting over there has been instrumental in doing everything for it and really set us up in a nice way with a bunch of nice site drawings. And we've got R&M Steel, their engineering should be complete on their building. And by complete, I mean sealed by Alabama civil and structural engineers within about 7 days, and also for the foundation. We've got a few more cost-saving things we're trying to get with contractors, and then after that, we're going to just pull the trigger and go if everything looks okay. And so far, it will. And I was going to grab you, go meet Hank. Yeah. And you get together with him because he's asking me questions, and you're better at it than I am. So, well, that's about it. I have nothing else to mention.
Thank you, Don.
You bet. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your efforts, too.
All right.
Anybody else who wants to speak tonight?
sure, we've got Foster Buell in the audience. I think all of you have seen his.
I read his resume.
Got an impressive resume and holds dual citizenship. And without objection, I'd like to invite him to join the advisory committee.
Why don't you come stand up?
Thank you very much. My name is Carsten Bulle. I think I'm loud enough. I like that.
Okay.
I just moved to the area about 3 months ago, before the crisis started. So even if I try to hide my accent, I think I cannot. So I'm German. Live in the U.S. since 10 years. Have a U.S. citizenship since a few months, dual nationality. I work for Airbus. Lived in Northern Virginia, close to Washington Dulles Airport for the last 10 years, and decided to move to the area. And so far, well, despite the exceptional circumstances, we love it. My wife and I, we settled here in Daphne with our 2 cats. And I would like to contribute a little bit to the success of the community, so I thought I would offer to volunteer for the advisory board, and I'd be very happy to, well, listening to you, I understand that I have to learn a lot about how general aviation airports are managed and what challenges you face, but I'd be happy to contribute in any capacity that we may need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other comments? Yes, sir.
I just want to give you a heads up. I invited a couple friends to come fly with me this weekend. Just literally invited a couple friends. There'll be more airplanes than I expected here. It's not a formal event or anything. It's just we're going to be flying around. So if you see more warbirds than normal, it's not some formal event. It literally is me making a phone call to 3 guys saying, hey, let's do some formation practice. So just a heads up.
Fun.
Any other business or any other thing? All right, Josh, can you move us to executive session?
Yes, we need a motion to move into executive session. The grounds for the executive session are set forth in the meeting agenda in terms of the applicable code section. And we will need a motion and a second, and we also need a roll call vote of each member to record the vote. The vote has to be unanimous to move into executive session.
I make a motion to go into executive session. Second.
Chip seconded it. Okay, we'll have a roll call. Amy?
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Aye, yes.
And the chairman says aye too. All right, so I don't expect us, I don't expect us to reconvene. Do we need to reconvene after?
We would reconvene only for the purpose of adjourning the meeting.
Okay.
That's right.
So that's kind of what we're going to do. Anything that comes out of executive session, we'll convey to the participants in the next day. Okay? Or to the people that we need to talk to in the next day. Does that work?
Well, and for the benefit of the audience, there are no decisions that are made in executive session. Any decision is made in the public portion of the meeting. The executive session is only for discussion purposes.
Okay. .20, we've come out of executive session. What I'd like to do is adjourn the meeting from executive session, but with the caveat that we will have a special call meeting next Tuesday at 4:30. And if I can't get this room, we'll meet in the jail chaps room, and I'll notice everybody. Okay? Thank you.
Motion we adjourn.
Motion we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. You got to sign those Volcker papers?
I got to sign them. I got to give them.
I signed what I need to sign.
Thank you, sir.